7K dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm sure most of you received a layer yesterday, so today we'll be talking about skill enhancement and ultimate enhancement. Both of them are very different but also very important. And initially, when I was playing the game in Korea, I actually kind of overlooked these two things because, to be honest, for a new player and a new free-to-play player, these processes are not easily achieved in the beginning. But an easy enhancement for you is definitely to start the game right with LD Player's very own LD Multiplayer. LD Player is a free Android emulator that lets you play mobile games on your PC at the luxury of using your mouse and keyboard. There are so many popular games in their library, including Seven Knights Rebirth, and they also ensure excellent performance for an enhanced Android gaming experience. With LD Player, you can easily re-roll for the best characters in Seven Knights Rebirth with multiple instances at the same time. And if you are interested to find out how, be sure to click on the video card flashing above to find out more. So I'll start with skill enhancement first because I think this is the easiest thing to talk about. For skill enhancement, you will need two different types of currencies and they can be gotten from the Arena Shop and Total War Shop and cash. You will see that there's a skill enhancement stone and a brilliant skill enhancement stone. The skill enhancement stone is used for rare heroes while the brilliant skill enhancement stone is used for legendary heroes. And take note that even though legendary heroes are split into various rarities, they are still using the same brilliant skill enhancement stone. Also take note that skill enhancement is completely random, so you do not get to choose which skill you want to enhance, and if you're lucky you may use one stone for the exact skill, but if you're unlucky then you may need 4. Okay, so without further ado, I will talk about the rare heroes first. We will evaluate the raid heroes first and how important it is for their skills to be enhanced. Even though Destroyer Gaze is less of a priority, heroes like Evan and Yuri still perform very well in Adventure and are still used in various areas because of their skill sets, especially Evan. Very importantly will be his passive. His passive instantly gives your whole team extra defense boost, which is definitely very beneficial. And then the next thing to enhance will be his shield, because I think his shield is also one of the most important. I mean, that's basically the whole reason he is there, right? Evan's shield lets you soak in a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it is only 2 turns, but nonetheless, I think this is still a very strong skill and you can even boost it up with defense gear and defense substats. As for his stun skill, it is not very important to have it unless in the beginning you may use Evan in certain situations such as PvP as well, and he does do good in the early stages of PvP, so having a longer duration of stun could come in pretty clutch for you. Next we have Yuri. I think Yuri was the first unit I actually skill enhanced fully, but to be honest, because the global launch started with many players having access to Lina, I think most people will feel that Yuri isn't that amazing, which is understandable. But if you don't have a Lina, then she is one of the more important healers you should have, especially because of her ability to revive 2 allies. Enhancing this one basically lets you revive your allies with higher HP, and I think this is also pretty clutch, especially for newer players when dying is a very common thing. So you definitely want to have Yuri to be able to revive you at a much better state so that you won't just revive and die instantly again. Yuri's skill enhancement is important because even her basic attack is able to reduce a lot of damage taken. This magic attack reduction of up to 11%, don't think that it is nothing because I have felt the difference before when using Yuri and not using Yuri, especially when fighting Ox King. She is also good in power-up dungeons where they use magic attacks. So for her healing skill, it actually increases the turn count, which is also very important because you definitely want more continuous healing as the turns go by. Because take note that Yuri's healing skill doesn't heal instantly, she only grants continuous healing, which means your units only heal when they start attacking, and her cooldown is pretty long, so you definitely want this effect to stay as long as possible. Finally, for her passive, Yuri actually heals herself when she uses the skill, and I think this is pretty important. You'll see that many rare heroes actually have this effect as well because basically they will heal themselves when they use skills, which in battle, sometimes you just can't afford to keep using healing skills, and this particular effect on their passive actually helps them to have some self-sustenance, so when the boss hits them really hard, you won't be panicking and rushing to use your skill. These units will actually heal up themselves. Again, she was one of my top priorities to recommend from before. I think it's better if you evaluate your own use for her. All I know is that a team with Lina and Yuri cannot go wrong. Another healer and immunity provider for raid that is very useful is Lucy. Lucy also has a self-healing on her passive when you enhance it, so that's pretty good for a healer, and that's very good because you really want them alive. And then for skill 2, she actually gives defense boost to all allies. And then if you enhance her healing skill, she actually heals more, especially after getting that defense boost from herself, because her healing scales off defense. I think both her skills are very useful. In fact, I've used her in adventure pushing as well. I think some people also use her in arena when the debuff meta got too much, because Lucy has a cleanse skill. As long as she doesn't get hit with status, she will cleanse the whole team and your team can function as per normal. She can also be used in Tower of Trials where Pascal is used, and she pairs very well with Evan as well, boosting his shield capabilities. Her enhanced basic attack is actually decent because she actually reduces more physical attack on the enemy, and if you remember, this is very similar to Yuri, so also very useful to have, especially against the Iron Devourer who can hit pretty hard, and Lucy can help to manage that. Also used in Iron Devourer is Victoria. I did not finish her, and I do not intend to finish her because her skill 1 honestly only increases damage output, but her skill 2 actually helps increase her magic attack boost from 29% to 35%. I think any hero, if once enhanced, gives a better boost to the entire team is worth it. Unfortunately, the only issue I have with Victoria is that her skills are seldom used in the raid. But if you are using Victoria outside of the raid, such as in dungeons with Pascal or whichever magic DPS to achieve a faster clear, then I think this is gonna be worth it. Then her passive is one that has the self-healing effect as well, and her basic attack does nothing, so honestly just the passive and the skill 2 are the most important ones. The next 2 units are for your Ox King, Black Rose and Karon, but I will have to say they are quite debatable. As we all know, Black Rose has a successor for her job, and that is Daisy. So I'm not sure if I would recommend you guys to use the enhancement stone on her to gamble for a chance to upgrade her skill 2. As you can see, I got lucky and managed to enhance both her skill 2 and her passive, which are the perfect options. Because before Daisy arrived, you really wanted to maximize the AoE's potential to kill, so actually getting a higher damage multiplier made sense. Also, her passive also has a self-healing effect, so upon using a skill, she will heal herself, and especially because she is very fragile, since she also has a physical attack boost for herself, this heal always almost brings her back to full HP. But yeah, as Daisy is out, I would say she is not in the top priority anymore, and perhaps it is best to cope with using Black Rose till T10 and try to get a Daisy later on. I find it quite annoying that Daisy isn't given free to global since she was free in Korea. Karon, on the other hand, while being a staple in the Ox King raid at the moment, may not need to be enhanced at all. I say so because both his skill enhancements only allow him to heal more, so if you feel that healing without enhancement is good enough, then you definitely do not need to enhance his skills and use your stones on someone else. But as you know, my Espada is so weak, and in a very desperate moment to clear T15, I went to enhance his skills to ensure better recovery so that my team stays alive. Next, we will look at some key immunity providing heroes. First is Chloe for shock immunity. So I was using her mainly in power-up dungeons and castle rush, and to be honest, I came to a point where I really had no one else to enhance and Chloe was the one that stood out from the rest. So when her passive is enhanced, she also heals herself when she is using a skill. And I think the main issues I faced with Chloe was that I didn't ultimate enhance her at that point. So I think this is something you guys want to consider as well. If you cannot afford to ultimate enhance a unit, which means you can't afford to unlock the other 2 slots of the gears, then maybe skill enhancing such a unit, or maybe skill enhancing a unit with such a passive is actually quite good because it's for their own preservation and sustenance, which I think is very beneficial. Because I remember using Chloe in the Dark Element dungeon and she was dying very easily because I didn't have extra gear slots. My gears were also not that great, but because I keep using her cleanse skills in the Dark Element dungeon, she will heal back up, and that is pretty good for me. So speaking of this cleanse skill, once it's enhanced, she actually also gives attack boost to all allies, which I think is very useful, especially when you're using her in Castle Rush on Tuesdays against Eileen. This will definitely instantly buff your damage output and give you a better score. And then for skill 1, it's not that great, you don't have to enhance this if you don't get this, and neither do you need to enhance the basic attack. So only skill 2 and passive are the more important ones. I was very unlucky in this RNG, so I ended up having to enhance all 4 skills. The next one I will recommend is Feng Yan. Feng Yan is not only a hero who has freeze immunity, he also acts as a sub DPS and is used in Castle Rush and Water Element Dungeon. The only reason why I enhance his skills is because he does hit pretty hard in Castle Rush, even as a sub DPS. So if you don't have Taka, he is your best choice for a DPS to get a decent score. What does his skill enhancement do? He actually gives himself 40% crit damage boost. In fact, all his skill enhancements are very damage oriented, which is suited for his role, right? So you don't have to worry too much about missing or failing and not being able to get the most out of this. And I mean, if you think about it, if you really want to maximize the usage of your skill enhancement stones, Feng Yan is probably a better choice compared to Chloe, but it really depends on your usage for them. If you're using Chloe more frequently in the early stages because of your dungeons and you have a lot of dungeons to do, then enhancing Chloe is going to be more beneficial, because I only enhance Feng Yan towards the later stages. Then we have Leo. Leo is the only death immunity provider in the game, so this makes his utility very high because you will meet many enemies in adventure with death, and Leo is the only one who can help you be immune to that annoying effect. Upon skill enhancing his skill 1, he actually increases defense reduction more, so this is going to help you in many areas, and it's going to help your damage output on whichever bosses that cast death, like the Death Element Dungeon or the Chris Castle Rush. Nonetheless, it is a single target skill, so do keep in mind when using this. Then his skill 2 is a damage reduction increase, so the boss is going to do less damage to you, which I think is also pretty decent but not a must have. I think his passive and basic attack are absolutely not important, but I mean, look what the game decided to give me. So only skill 1 is the most important. And would you like to gamble for this? I would think not, unless towards the end when you have no one else to enhance, then perhaps you can consider Leo as well. We also have Ariel, who is another burn immunity provider. Unfortunately, even though she does have some utility in Castle Rush, I think only her passive is worth enhancing since it directly boosts the magic damage of allies from 11% to 15%. So similar to Leo, it can be a big gamble to use enhancement stones on her unless you have no more heroes to care about. Next one is a special mention, and that is Noho. Noho is very niche and used in Nightmare Adventure. Some players use her in Nightmare for the main reason of being able to alter the HP of the Nightmare enemies. So reducing their very high HP to 25% is going to make your life so much easier. Also, her passive does increase magic attack of allies, so she also acts as a buffer, but she's really only used in the late game to make life easier, so there's no rush to enhance her early game. That's pretty much all the key rare heroes you should keep in mind when planning to skill enhance. But before we talk about legendary heroes, I just want to acknowledge Jupy, Snipper and Yuri, as they are the replacements or initial versions of Shane, Espada and Pascal. New players definitely may not get those DPS heroes so soon, but I would strongly suggest holding back and focusing on the other raid support units, which actually last longer than Jupy, Snipper and Yuri. Because you will get Shane on day 20 if I'm not wrong, and then Espada and Pascal should come to you if they are on your wish list. So moving on to the legendary heroes, let me just straight up say enhance your Teo. If you are watching this without a Teo, it's okay. Let me bless you to get one. Teo is everyone's farmer now in the global launch, and getting his skills enhanced will greatly boost the ease of pushing adventure stages, and the further you push, the better your farming efficiency and the more rewards you get from adventure milestones and adventure passes. So give him the damage boost that he needs to help you clear adventure easier, and your life will get better ASAP. Next up, you should have or get a Lina, and you need to enhance all her skills because Lina is one of the most powerful support units in the game. Her skill enhancement on her basic attack actually heals your allies. I mean, how good can that get? And then skill 1 increases the healing amount even more. Skill 2 actually increases damage boost by a good amount. And then for her passive, she also boosts your whole team's effect resist rate. Everything is so good for her role as a support in PvE, but not just in PvE, she is also used in tank teams in PvP because this effect resist boost is actually pretty substantial. And I think overall she's just such a great unit that you need to have crystals saved up for her. The next crazy good unit to enhance is Biscuit. Now although her skill 2 isn't that great to enhance, her skill 1, passive and basic attack are all very worth. Her skill 1 especially is the most amazing buff with not just 10% more weakness hit chance but 7% more damage to bosses. All these increase your damage output significantly, especially if your DPS has low weakness hit chance in the first place. Then you can easily hit 100% weakness hit chance. You'll use this skill no matter what. Then you only need to ensure that your DPS's gears only needs to have 46% weakness hit chance, making life easier as well. Her passive when enhanced lets her decrease the enemy's defense by 4%, more similar to Ace and Vanessa, and we already know how important passive defense down is, especially since it stacks with defense down actively applied, from Rachel for example. Her basic attack even decreases the enemy's damage dealt to let you take less damage when enhanced. Overall, very well designed PvE support unit, and you definitely want to keep her in mind. Okay, the next 3 units, I think I don't have to explain that much for Pascal, Shane and Espada. Okay, Espada probably. So Pascal is definitely someone you want to enhance almost all of his skills. Some people may not want to enhance his basic attack, and that's understandable. His passive boosts his own magic attack, which is very important to deal bigger damage. His skill 2 although only increases damage, but that's exactly what he is made for, to do big damage, so you definitely want this enhanced as well because it's his only attacking skill. And for skill 1, he's actually able to give himself 2 hits of damage nullification. You may think this is nothing, but actually sometimes if your Pascal is not that strong, and Pascal himself is quite like a glass cannon in fact, so sometimes when the boss attacks you, they usually cast a skill and potentially use a random basic attack on you. If this lands on your Pascal, he may just die. So if you have a nullification up, you will totally avoid getting damaged by these 2 hits, and you can continue on your turn to fire off the shot that you need to kill the boss. It has happened to me so many times that I'm really glad to have these 2 nullification shields. And as for Shane, I only did her passive and skill 2, still considering on the basic attack, but I may want to save the stone for someone newer. For her passive, that's pretty important because she gives herself a crit rate boost, and I cannot emphasize how important this 6% increase is because it relieves you the pressure that you need to obtain a very high crit rate with her gear. So if she does have 41 crit rate boost upon entering battle, then all you need to think about is how do you get the 59% on her. And take note that her T4 also gives her 18% crit rate. So all you need to do is think about how to get another 41% of crit rate on her gear. All these added up can really influence the ease of critting and doing consistent damage, which is exactly what you will want. Not only this, her enhanced passive also gives more magic resistance to help her tank more, because being a DPS she is not the strongest and not the tankiest. I don't think I need to explain about the single target skill, this is a must, no negotiation. So Espada. Espada is the one that I think is very contentious, I would say. It is very debatable, but hear me out. I actually went on to enhance all her skills. I need to disclaim this because if you're still trying to do your raids up to T10, level 10, you really don't need to enhance Espada's skills. I think many players all made it to tier 10 of the Ox King without enhancing Espada's skills because she is just that strong if you give her the right gear. The only reason why I enhanced this is because of the raid expansion from T11 to T15. I feel that my damage is really not cutting it because my gears are very difficult to replace and there's no way I can get more copies of her to boost her stats so easily. So with all these reasons, I decided to enhance her skill to tackle Ox 15 better. And did I regret it? Not at all if you watch my Ox King guide. But yeah, this is something that you should consider only much later on. Apart from your raid DPS, you also have your Castle Rush DPSs like Taka and Ruri. All these skill enhancements also only have damage multiplier increases to help you score higher and better. Special note will be on their passive. Taka gives himself 1 damage nullification upon using a skill, so this gives him better survivability because he cannot heal like Ruri. While Ruri, her enhanced passive boosts her magic damage output even more, but we'll consider these 2 heroes to be usable even without skill enhancement, and should only be considered after your core PvE support heroes are enhanced, such as Daisy and Rachel. So Daisy is one of the most recent heroes in the game. I enhanced the passive of Daisy because her passive actually gives a greater magic attack boost to the 2 allies with highest attack. That would usually be the backline ally, and that's all we need. Usually we only need the backline DPS to be enhanced, and with the 27% passive boost, this already makes a boost larger than what Yeonhee can give. Her skill 2 is basically used for the same reasons as Black Rose, but it also enhances magic attack, and this is an active boost. So this active boost also stacks with her passive boost, and you will have more magic attack. So I mean, you definitely have to use this skill 2 regardless in the Ox King because you have to kill the minions. So this always helps to enhance the damage output on this skill so that she can kill the minions easily. This enhancement on skill 1 was an unfortunate roll. I do not see any value in this. Next we have Rachel, and she is someone who I didn't enhance until very recently. Her passive enhancement increases weakness hit chance boost to all allies, and this is already a very good passive, and to boost it even more only allows your DPS to have more consistent chance of adding weakness hit damage to the final damage, so it is very worth it to enhance this. Her Phoenix for skill 2 is the only other skill I would say should be enhanced, but of course we can't choose. It literally decreases more defense on the enemies and increases the physical damage that they take. So these are very powerful effects to allow more damage to be done, so I think this is definitely a great enhancement. Then let's look at the two major waifus, Yeonhee and Rin. I personally think both of them are very strong characters that honestly can be skill enhanced, especially if you run a magic team in PvP or you use them in nightmare farming later on, since both of them have the AoEs necessary for farming for adventure pushing. And basically all their enhancements are very beneficial for the purpose and their functions. But if you were to ask me, I think there's more benefit in Yeonhee because Yeonhee can also act as a support for magic attack boost for any magic user, so having her passive enhance is already a major plus over Rin. And if you have her at T2, enhancing her basic attack isn't the worst thing in the world because she can hit 2 targets, so slapping 2 enemies with a strong finger flick makes killing them a lot more efficient. Apart from that, skill 1 and skill 2 are just damage increases, which is similar to Rin. Skill 1 and skill 2 are also damage increases. Her skill 1 in particular gets a much bigger boost than skill 2, dealing more damage if she crits, while her enhanced passive helps to support that by raising the cap on the crit rate boost she gets. So in terms of utility, I think Rin takes second place compared to Yeonhee. So at this point, I would like to say for skill enhancement wise, if you are a free to play player, having all these priorities will already stretch you out, and take note that even at my 4-month mark, these are the only heroes I have enhanced. So I mean, think about it, that if you're a new player, there's no way you're gonna enhance all these units within your first month. It is not a very easy thing to do. But if you're a spender, go ahead. You should be able to complete all these, and you probably may have other options to consider. And at that point, I would like to add some additional heroes that can be worth enhancing, and this will include Rudy. His enhancement lets your entire team definitely tank better, because on skill 2 the link reduction is increased, and then his enhanced passive has the defense boost for your team increase, and the other two are not that important because they are damage oriented. Another special mention is Sieg, because he is not only just a support for physical attack boost, but also a sub DPS alongside Shane. His passive after enhancement helps to boost physical attack of the backline allies even more, so sometimes he himself is also put in the backline with Shane. So his skill 2 actually lets you heal more depending on his physical attack, which he does self boost from his passive, so you do expect to get big heals. And his skill 1 lets you tank better by decreasing the enemy's damage up to 23%. So overall, honestly not a bad skill set to enhance, but because initially he wasn't great, and after he was buffed, I already finished most of the content I need to, and I still have other important heroes to enhance, so that is why he is in this state. Lastly, the rest of your heroes you will want to consider in skill enhancing will be your PvP team or the PvP meta units if you have them decently built. I feel that there is no point in enhancing PvP units if your gears are lacking or if you may not have invested much in them. So here's the summary of skill enhancement priorities. Okay, so after that long discussion on skill enhancement, we are finally going to talk about ultimate enhancement, but honestly speaking, the priorities are pretty much the same. your priority will still be Teo, your farmer, and then your raid damage dealers so that they deal more damage with a 4-piece set. Your raid support so that they survive better with a 4-piece set. And then your PvP units because you definitely want to have complete sets for those to compete better. And then your castle rush damage dealers and support. So it all goes kind of hand in hand. As you can see, almost all my legendary heroes are ultimate enhanced at this point, and the turning point came after reaching Nightmare Adventure where the fodder drops were very consistent and you have tons and tons of 3 stars to feed the 5 stars to fuse them into 6 stars. So if you want more details on this process, check out my previous video on fodder management. I understand that for newer players it is not that easy to keep getting 6-star units because I was the one complaining to my friend when I just started that like how are people getting 6-star units so easily just to casually ultimate enhance all their units. But trust me when I say it will really get better after you progress far enough in the adventure. One thing I have to say about Ultimate Enhancement is that any hero, both legendary and rare, are using the same pool of resources, that is your 6-star units that you don't want. So they all go through the same thing to unlock their gear slots. So in terms of Ultimate Enhancement, there's a lot more to consider because your legendary heroes are competing with your rare heroes. But I suggest prioritizing your farmer and raid units first to consistently do well in adventure and gear farming so that your progress will speed up from there. And that is all I have for this video. I hope it gives you a better overview of the heroes' various skills and the value in them. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much and see you!